Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Cosmic Owl Astrology podcast, Weirdly Cosmic podcast. And today I'm going to talk to you about Ceres, Ceres, stationing direct, one of my favorite planetary bodies. Now, Ceres is also known as Demeter in different cosmologies. And I've done a lot of research on her. If you search my YouTube channel, I actually did a whole presentation about Ceres. Now, Ceres is often called an asteroid, but she is actually reclassified as a dwarf planet back in 2006 after Eris was discovered and Pluto was reclassified as a dwarf planet too. Now, Ceres is just inside the asteroid belt. She is not in the asteroid belt. She's just inside the asteroid belt. And it's my opinion that she is a missing personal planet. So I treat her as such. And that's why I thought it was important to do this video for her station direct, because I think she's a really big part of the new paradigm that we are moving into as all these newly discovered objects are coming into our consciousness. But before I dive in and look at some charts and talk about what Ceres stationing direct means, I would ask you to subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment, tell me what you think, maybe search for the Ceres video, or I will add that at the end so you can click on it and go straight to that after this. But also check out my merch below. So let's talk about Ceres stationing in Virgo. Now, Ceres was goddess of the grain, and she was discovered at 23 degrees 23 minutes of Taurus, Earth sign Taurus. But she's also, many astrologers think that she rules Taurus, and I kind of can put definitely put a case for her ruling Taurus, but I could also put a case for her ruling Virgo. So I am kind of a bit done with the whole concept of rulerships, and I think she is a very earthy figure. She is known as the Great Mother. She introduced the grain to humans. She was goddess of the harvest. She kept the harvest going. She killed the harvest when Persephone was abducted into the underworld by Hades. So she's a very earthly goddess. And after Persephone's abduction, Ceres actually went to Eleusis and was a priestess of the Eleusinian mysteries. So we could say that when she was, before she lost Persephone, even though she found her again, she could have been Taurian in nature then. Sorry. Yes, Taurian. And then when she went to Eleusis, she was actually taking a thing called Kikion, which was a psychedelic to enable the people of the Eleusinian mysteries to have a direct experience of God. Now, Kikion was thought to be made of some grain kind of and fermented in a certain way so that it became psychedelic. So you can see all these kind of earthly, kind of grain related figures or symbols associated with Ceres. But either way, to my mind, Ceres is very much associated with our connection with the earth, with nurturing, with filling our needs. She's also associated with grief and loss and forgiveness because of losing Persephone, her daughter. But really, she is how we nurture and how we are nurtured. Ceres is often associated with the parent-child relationships, often mother-daughter, but we all have mothering in us and we all have the feminine in us. So I prefer to say parenting and child relationships, whether you are the child with your parent or whether you are the parent with your children. She is associated with those relationships. All right. So that gives you an idea of what Ceres is. Now, Ceres is stationing direct in the sign of Virgo, which really is the sign of the priestess. The symbol of Virgo looks very much like an M, and to my mind that refers to all the Marys, to the Magdalene, to Mother Mary, and so on and so forth. It's a real priestess kind of energy. There's a purity to Virgo, a purity of soul and spirit, wanting to have meaning, to be useful, to be of service, to make order into things, to be diligent and discerning and discriminating and very efficient. So Virgo often gets such a bad rap in astrology, but I find it a fascinating sign because it's really very much about having real deep meaning and service and practical service on this earth. So let's have a little look at the actual chart for her station direct. Bear with me as I share the screen. So I think this week, I'm recording this on May the 2nd. Ceres stations direct on May the 6th. Yesterday, Pluto stationed direct. Pluto will still be at his station minute when Ceres stations direct. Also, Mercury is still retrograde, and Ceres is stationing direct right after a lunar eclipse that takes place at 14 Scorpio and Taurus. So this is a very heavy week of big shifting sands, shifting energies, and shifting perceptions. Now, in the you cannot make this stuff up thing, as I was talking to you, I just saw a headline pop up saying that there's been a mudslide in a canyon near us that's blocked the road. I live in the state of Utah. We had record-breaking snowfall this winter, and the snow is now beginning to melt because we're having record-breaking heat, and this is causing mudslides and flooding. And I'm only speaking to the state of Utah and what's happening here, because Virgo is an earth sign, mudslides. Ceres is very much associated with the climate and how we treat the earth. And she is bringing our attention to climate change and saying, are you listening? Are you going to change your ways? Now, Ceres is also at stationing direct at 23 degrees. And remember, I said she was discovered at 23. So I'll look at that chart together in a minute, but she is very associated with 23, which is also a number that's associated with Eris. And remember, I said Ceres was reclassified as a dwarf planet from an asteroid when Eris was discovered. Now, the Discordians say that 23 is the number of Eris, and it's the number of chaos magic, because Eris causes chaos and discord. But 23 is also the most human of numbers. It is, we have 10 fingers, 10 toes, 2 ears and a nose, so 23 protuberances. We have 23 pairs of chromosomes. It takes 23 seconds for blood to go around the body, and there's 23 days in the biorhythm cycle. So it's very much about humanity. Okay, 2 plus 3 also makes 5, which is a very Venusian number. There's so many 5s and 23s in nature. Well, here we have Ceres stationing direct at 23 degrees Virgo on Saturday, the 6th of May. And if we look at the chart for Washington, D.C., because we all know that the USA is going through some major shifts and changes, we can see that this is on the ascendant. Now, coming right after a Scorpio full moon lunar eclipse, we put the deep waters of the moon in Scorpio, and the moon is still in Scorpio as Ceres stations direct. In fact, the moon is at the critical anaretic degree of Scorpio when Ceres stations direct. Add in Ceres stationing direct, add in the south node in Scorpio, add in a huge amount of energy in Taurus. We've got the north node, Mercury, Vesta, the sun, Uranus about to move into new ground, a new degree and minute. For the last time he was there would be 84 years ago. This is a lot of deep watery energy and earth. I think there's going to be literal floods and mudslides, and literal floods and mudslides within us. Floods of emotion around the climate. We're already seeing fires in some places as well, and it's only May the 2nd as I record this. I think we're going to be really kind of sliding and thinking and saying we've got to change our perceptions. Now, Ceres stations direct at 2348 on the ascendant of the USA. So I do think, because a planet is right on the ascendant, that this is going to affect the USA in a great way. Also, Virgo is Mercury ruled. Mercury is still retrograde, but Mercury is stationing direct on May the 14th. So Mercury is heading towards his station direct as well. And Mercury is to do with all words like transition and transgress, all trans words that show crossings of some kind. Now, to not get too political, but we also see a lot of bills and laws being passed to discriminate against trans people, particularly trans women. Like, no trans women in sports, no trans women in women's bathrooms, no trans women in various places. And this is also going to bring up that as well. And that brings us to the other aspect of Virgo, is that Virgo worries. Virgo is very sensitive to criticism, but is also very critical. And so I think there's going to be more of that as well. At a higher personal level, Ceres station direct will impact you in a big way if you have a lot in Virgo, if you have planets or angles around 23 degrees of the mutable signs. Virgo is a mutable or changeable sign. So that's Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, or Pisces. You are going to be aspected by this, and you are going to feel this shift. You're probably going to feel some grief, some loss, some shedding, some purification. But it's also a pull to clear out and find some deeper meaning and usefulness. Find your place. Where can you be most useful? Where can you find your place in the world to be of service to others and to nurture wholeness? Virgo is also one who is whole unto oneself, and to really come into your body as well. Virgo is very much an earth sign that is to do with the body. So you may also find yourself shifting and changing to do more with your diet, etc. I said I'd show you her discovery chart. This is her discovery chart way back on January the 1st, 1801, when she came in the middle of the industrial age. And my research shows me that Ceres was discovered to really kind of show us that what we're doing with the industrial age was not yes, it was progress, but it was hurting the earth. Combustion engines, all that's emissions that we pump out, all that kind of stuff is really pumping out. And now Ceres is stationing direct in an almost exact trine to her position when she was discovered. And to my mind, this is saying it's time to really open your mind. This is an opening trine. Ceres will come up and oppose that point later this year. But it's leaning in and saying, what do you need to do? What do you need to manifest and create to help be useful and to change this trajectory that we're on? All right, so that's enough of that. I just wanted to do a really quick video about this shift forward. But one thing I am going to do is I'm going to read you the symbols for her station direct. And remember, it's particularly powerful station because of the eclipse as well, and the fact Pluto is still at his station point on this moment. And incidentally, if we look at the myths, Ceres was the great mother, Pluto was Hades, who took Ceres' daughter into the underworld. So this is deep, this is profound, this is potent energy. This week is so intense. But anyway, let me read the Sabian symbol first of all. Well, it's Mary and her white lamb. And the symbol is actually the spiritual practice of innocence. The more we progress in spiritual maturity, the more we radiate childlike qualities and purity of spirit. So despite having a nobility of demeanor and powerful will, the more advanced seeker is able to radiate innocence and purity, holding on to a childlike simplicity of being. This protects us from attachment to pride and also softens all the situations we encounter, adding a spontaneity and lightness of being to life. So the spiritual practice of innocence. Now, really, this Ceres station is in opposition to Neptune in Pisces. So it's bringing back down that purity of spirit and intention and connection to source, down to earth, in very practical ways. And if you think about it, even at a more mundane level, Mary and her white lamb, the spiritual practice of innocence, is really about, the lamb is spring. We are in spring. It's about connecting with nature and so on and so forth. Now, let me read one other interpretation of the Sabian symbol. I'm trying to move a little bit away from Dane Rudyard's, but let's have a look at his anyway. So Virgo 24, we always go up because the symbols start at 1 and degrees start at 0. So Mary and her little lamb. Rudyard said the need to keep a vibrant and pure simplicity, that's very Virgoan as well, simplicity, at the core of one's being as one meets the many tests of existence. Okay. Now the Chandra symbol is a silver trident, psychically in tune with the collective and assigned the task of maintaining a vigil of collective awareness. You are sent to outposts to stay tuned and partake in the universal communications network. Singularly devoid of self-drive, sacrificial incarnation, immensely far removed from the usual territory of the mind, you have been granted the opportunity to serve and suffer. Exquisitely sensitized, brilliantly astute, and seeking and searching, for ways for everybody to reconnect. Solitude, seclusion, stillness. wishing and yearning for the world to be at peace and for people to understand each other. You contribute constructively, consecrated, mystical, and right there on the inside of life. You wait timelessly for all good things to come in their season. So it really has this kind of, well, the Hermit card in the tarot is the Virgo card. It really has this meditative, giving, purifying your spirit for the good of humankind kind of energy. And also perhaps, giving some stuff away as well. It could be time for a good clear out on this Ceres conjunction. Okay, I'm going to pull one tarot card, and this deck is actually, there's the book. I'm pulling a card from the deck I'm going to use in my Venus retrograde class. Link to that below. That's starting July the 19th. There's a 3-pay option till the end of May. So people are signing up already. It's my Venus retrograde class is always off the charts. It's not just astrology, it's a shamanic healing journey as well. But this is about the Eleusinian mysteries, where Ceres went. And so let's pull a card for this station. And we actually got the 3 of these. I will show you. And this is actually the 3 of Swords. And this is sorrow. Look at this. She's sad. Ceres is about grief. She cried for and mourned for Persephone. She was just distraught. And this is, I am sad. So the quote is from William Shakespeare. He is not worthy of the honeycomb that shuns the hives because the bees have stings. And the soul journey. The bees are using their stings to tell us it is time to wake up. We are feeling the pain and our tears fall. This might be a time of sorrow and sadness emanating from loss, heartbreak, and suffering. We may feel overwhelmed and alone and find ourselves in an immersive place where we can think or feel nothing else but our sorrow. Delusions and illusions may invade our thoughts, and understanding of our pain will be accepted in time, for our heart and soul will fight back. Slowly we will find the strength to move onwards and upwards. When times of sadness visit us, we can easily forget that we are loved. As we heal, we will see that love is still there for us. Now, I really do feel that on this eclipse and Ceres station, especially with Pluto still at that station point, that there's going to be some very profound grief and loss, but also some transformation. So lean into it. I'm not a light and fluffy astrologer. I'm not one to say, oh, this is all going to be fluffy and wonderful. This is a weighty, heavy week. I keep saying this on my writing, on my daily posts. So the higher energy of Ceres is also extreme and extraordinary self-care, filling your needs, nurturing yourself at a deep, deep earthly level. So look after yourself this week, my loves, and I will see you on the next video.